Hey y'all, and welcome back to Growing with Ray. In today's itinerary, you guys, we are going to be talking about transplanting. In today's itinerary, we are going to be talking about up-potting your plants and why you should be up-potting them. Now, we're also going to talk about, firstly, making sure you're taking hold of your inventory. As you can see, these are my tomatoes, and you guys, I haven't given you all much of an update for majority of our things this year, but I thought it would be good to show you guys this video while I am up-potting these, and the roots are coming from the bottom. Now this year I did multi-sow in my containers, and so because of my multi-sowing, I need to now separate these babies so that they can all be in their own container. One of the main reasons I multi-sowed this year is because I knew I was like basically planting a lot more this year versus what I've planted in the last years. I did start a lot more seeds this year due to various reasons. One of them being that I'm growing for about 4 people in total, including myself. So I knew I was going to have a lot of seedlings that I was going to have to be dealing with. And another thing is I just didn't want to use up so much space so quickly. However, I think that probably kind of backfired on me, you guys, only because I am losing so much space in my seed starting area so quickly. Now I am up-potting my tomatoes, and I am about 3 to 4 weeks out from my last frost date. Well, really, I'm about 2.5 weeks, maybe 3 weeks out from my last frost date. But you guys, I don't ever usually plant out that early since I had that freak frost on my 3rd year of gardening. And if you don't know, my 3rd year of gardening, I put out my pepper plants right around the time of the last frost, just for us a week later to get hit with the frost. And it was so saddening, you guys. So sad. So I am doing things a little bit slower this year with everything to make sure they all go out at a great time that I want them to come out, that I know they'll be healthy, and I don't have to worry about possibly losing them. Now, with tomatoes, they don't mind their roots being disturbed too much. And if you all know, this was my first year using cocoa coir as a growing medium for my seedlings. And so far, so good. We do have good root structure for these. No complaints whatsoever in my eyes. Nice, white, healthy roots. And so let's get into why you need to up-pot your seedlings. Well, with the root systems, as you all can see, they're growing pretty vastly, right? And as you can see, you could really put your tomatoes in the ground at this height. But why do that when I can up-pot it and let them get even bigger, which is what this will allow. It'll allow for more room in my roots. And then secondly, for my tomatoes, it allows me to put the soil higher up to encourage more roots further down the plant. So as you see in this cup, how much of the tomato is out versus this of what I got it looking like now, we're getting rid of a lot of that height because I want that stem. Since tomatoes are vining plants, they do happen to produce roots along their stem. So I filled up these trays with soil, and I'm literally just sticking them far down in the soil to bury that stem so that they look like little babies now. However, they do have their true leaves, as you can tell. The colossal leaves, I believe is what they're called, are these first 2 that come out from the seedling. I'm going to give you a close-up. Give me 1 second, you guys. So these 2 first leaves were the leaves that came out from the seedling itself. And now these are the true leaves. And so now that the true leaves are here, I'm comfortable to go ahead and up-pot these. Plus, again, I've just been moving a little slower, so they're definitely just going to get up-potted now. I'm not planting these out for another 3 to 4 weeks, you guys. So I'm in no rush about me doing these later versus earlier, because we do have a good growing season. And once things usually get outside, they just start taking off anyways. So we do this for various reasons. One, to develop more root growth. Number two, to develop a bigger, more sturdy, healthier plant. Because as they grow, they're going to need more surface area to grow. Number three, we do this because plants can get not only root bound in their old pots, but they can also only get as big as the pot is because there's not enough room for more root development. Say, for instance, I had a tomato in a cell like this, or even in one of my 16 cell trays from Epic Gardening. My tomatoes would be ridiculously small. The roots would be all throughout here. Even though they're air pruning, this would not get pretty big because the roots don't have anywhere to go. And our goal is not to get root bound crops. If we get that, we can run into the issue of damaging them when it's time to plant, and you have to untangle them so that the roots can breathe, because they do need air, which is why if you watch other gardeners, they may talk about air pruning, which is what this does allow. However, if you can get pots that have slits in it, because that'll also prevent them from becoming root bound and allow proper air pruning. So our goal when we're starting seeds inside, for a lot of us, we're in cold climated areas. So if we were to start these when it actually got warm outside, we would be taking away about 8 to 6 weeks of our growing season out of the backyard. Versus us starting them now, it gives us a head start to actually truly get started at our last frost date. So we're doing this as an advancement of our growing season so that we can truly extend it and truly enjoy our growing season that we have. Now, here in Kentucky, we do have about 200 growing days, sometimes a little more depending on if a frost comes in early or if it doesn't. And some tomatoes may last that long and some may not. Now, what we did up pot was the Cherokee Purple, the Old German, and the Abe Lincoln. And now I'm going to be up potting our Roma tomatoes. This is the variety Supremo. This is my first time trying it. I know that that's this because this is the only one I didn't put a label on. So we do it for the health of the plant. It gives it more soil room, so when we fertilize, it's better leafage, which is foliage on the plants. And I'm also doing it because on the trays that they're on under my lights, I have one light that can actually withstand 4 trays. So that's where these tomatoes are going to go, so that it'll empty out my trays that I have in the 2 rows that I have. Now, it looks like my tomatoes are going to probably be 3 trays full of tomatoes. This is my second tray I've done today. And then I have one more tray to do outside. And then I'm going to be starting on my peppers. Another thing is when it comes to up potting your crops, you get to look at which ones you want to keep and which ones you don't. I'm not truly one of those gardeners that like to thin out my seedlings, because you could very well easily have thinned out these seedlings and kept them in that pot. But I'm not. And because I did use cocoa coir as the growing medium to start off my seedlings, because they are a fluffy material, organic matter. It's literally the outside shelling cores of the coconuts. Since I had them in there, they have no nutritional value. I was adding fertilizer to them every time I watered, which was about once a week. Well, now I'm putting them in some regular smuggler soil. You'll know more about this soil when the video comes out. but this is soil type A that I've put the tomatoes in so far. And again, you'll recognize it when that video comes out about the soils A through E. But it has fertilizer in here. And on top of that, they get to be individualized to grow bigger, to grow more stronger, because you're going to get a better harvest on a healthy, strong plant. Remember, I told you guys, or I say this a lot, is that only the strongest survives in my household when it comes to starting seedlings. That's true, but at the same time, I want to also take the initiative to help them to continue to be strong. And I know cocoa coir is a very soft, loose growing medium that a lot of people that create their own soil by mixing different things together use in there. And so this is how loose it is, you know. And don't think that this cocoa coir is going to waste. All of the cocoa coir that I used are actually going to go in the garden beds to add organic matter into it. And then, like, let me show you. So this is the 9 Supremos, and you see all that root development for 9 tomato plants, you guys. I can't make it up. It's just a loose medium that allows them to grow with no issues, knowing that I'm going to have to up pot. I got the cocoa coir for 2 main reasons. One, to start the seedlings because they're easy to push through. This soil has sticks still in here that's breaking down. They still have twigs in here and pieces of wood, which is good organic matter. But it could be very difficult for seedlings to try to pop up through this because they could hinder it, you know. They're now older, a little more sturdier. They can handle this. And this is their last pots they're going in before I take them outside. So if there's any other questions that I didn't answer as to why we are up potting our tomatoes, or you up pot any of your crops, let me know. I know we are about to go ahead and start our corn as well. That is the next thing I want to get started. I'm still debating on if I'm a direct sow it or not. I probably just won't because they grow really fast as well. And I know I'm going to have a good amount of trays of those because I want as much corn as possible this year. I'm really hoping for it, you guys. Really hoping for it. But I know in another video, someone did ask me, what is my favorite crop to grow? And it would be so cliche to say a tomato or a pepper. When I first started gardening, I did not care for the tomatoes or peppers. I was more intrigued with everything else that I can grow. This year, my favorite thing to grow so far is, I would probably say, is my tomatoes and peppers. Actually, yeah, they would be my favorite thing this year. I do like growing cantaloupe and watermelon though because they grow so quickly. But this year, because I'm mainly focused on tomatoes and peppers, I mean, I'm wanting other things out of the garden, but tomatoes and peppers are my things that I'm trying to focus on because my goal is to get some good barbecue sauce this year, get some good hot sauce this year. So those are my favorite crops this year. Last year, my favorite crop growing was celery. I remember as a kid, you know, we used to eat those. You put some peanut butter in the middle. You could put the raisins on top, you know, so cute, and just munch on it the same way you eat an apple with peanut butter. So that was my favorite crop to grow last year. I'm enjoying growing potatoes. I'm enjoying growing potatoes because it's just such an exciting thing. I remember my 3rd year of gardening. That's when I first grew potatoes, and I was really intrigued to see how well they did. They were in a wine barrel at my mother's, and it was just so stinking cute, you guys. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. My very first year gardening, I would say it had to have been the cabbages, broccoli, because they did so well my very first year. I have not had such a good year with cauliflower and broccoli since my very first year. But this year, my focus is the tomatoes and peppers. Last year, that was the first time I pepper plants have ever gotten as big as they've gotten. I've always seen over the years that people can get really big pepper plants, almost looking like a Roma tomato bush variety. Like, they get really big. And last year I was able to get that as well. I thought that was really neat, really neat. So yeah, my favorite thing to grow right now would be these. And now if we're talking about just growing anything in general, because y'all asked for my crop, my favorite crop, but if we're talking about anything in general, it would be flowers. I do love flowers. I love flowers so much. So much. If I had enough yardage, I do, but if I had more yardage, I would do all my flowers on one side and then all the crops on the other. So I try to have fun with my flowers and grow so many, because they're going to go somewhere. They're going to find a home somewhere. I'm not going to just let them not find a home. And that's another thing when it comes to me starting plants like this. Like, they're going to go somewhere. They're not going to be left by themselves in their own devices. I know me, and I know I'm going to find it at home. Like, I just don't like killing seed. I just don't like getting rid of seedlings. And we're just going to make the room for it. Now, you guys, another thing that's good at this time while you are up potting your things, it is good to go ahead and count inventory of what you have. Because if you're growing for your family and you don't have an idea of how many of every little thing crop you need to grow, it's good to have a tracking system so that you can know your numbers, so that next year, say for instance, you didn't grow enough, you can add maybe 5 more tomato plants, and let's see how that does. I know for a fact this year I'm growing extremely enough tomatoes. Last year I grew enough tomatoes, but this year I want to grow some more because these, like I said, this year we're only Roma tomatoes we're growing are these 2 Roma tomatoes right here, which are the Supremo variety. They're a Roma tomato, but they're called Supremo. I think I got the seeds from Botanical Interest, and I got them last year, or maybe at the end of December 2023 for last year, but I never grew them. And that's the same thing about these tall tomatoes. I think the majority of them was from in my gardener. But just like that, we do have everything up potted, you guys. It takes about 15 minutes or so, really less than that, if I'm not chit-chatting too much. But it's easy to get these up potted, you guys. It's going to be more beneficial for your plant to give it more space to grow, to have a healthier root system. Because when these go out, the whole pot area, all of that should be roots, and we're literally just plopping it in a spot of its forever home of wherever it's going to be. Depending on how big they get, we may actually dig them even deeper, you guys. We want as many roots on this plant as possible to have the healthiest tomatoes to come off of that plant. Now, with us being said, you guys, I hope you have a wonderful day. See you next time.